Did you hear that? Did that sound just give you just a little bit of anxiety? Maybe you fearfully checked your phone, or you got excited that someone was finally getting back to you. Whatever it was, I'm sure that you are familiar with Slack.
Slack is a lot more than just team chat.
Messaging is viral
with Slack.
Can Microsoft fend off Slack?
Slack is the fastest growing SaaS company possibly of all time. While Slack is inherently a business communication tool, its value lies in how it helps people work together. Slack has owned this niche for years and managed to get a grip on the market before megacorps like Google, Meta, and Microsoft. Slack is now integrated into the Salesforce ecosystem, joining the company in a near $30 billion acquisition in 2021. As we speak, though, a battle is brewing between these companies. Yes, Slack is leading the way, but will it always be able to fend off the threat that Google, Meta, and Microsoft pose? If you have thoughts, make sure you let me know in the comments down below. Let's dive deep into the origins of this kind of communication, early industry beginnings, and finally, what makes Slack such a prime example to learn from. I'm Ben Hillman, and this is Verticals. The main purpose of tools like Slack is to ensure that all employees not only communicate, but also collaborate in a highly efficient manner through a variety of methods that go beyond merely sending and receiving messages. One of the earliest instances of this sort of collaboration can be attributed to an American president. On August 15, 1971, Richard Nixon announced a 90-day wage price freeze in an attempt to ease an inflationary boom.
I am today ordering a freeze.
At the time, the Office of Emergency Preparedness was an office that advised and assisted the president in all things involving emergency preparedness policy. They were basically a predecessor to FEMA. The OEP director led a conference call with 25 regional officers. "Anyone have any problems?" he asked. This was largely greeted with silence. The OEP needed to exchange information between academics and networking experts that could help the government better respond to a situation. A conference call was not going to cut it. Murray Turhoff was a computer scientist working in the OEP. After the call, he took a teletype home, worked around the clock, and 4 days later came back with a working version of the Emergency Management Information Systems and Reference Index, or emissary. Don't worry, you don't need to remember that acronym. But this made it possible for participants to submit responses at any time and at any point in the discussion. They made it possible for the OEP to ensure that policy interpretation was correct in all regions. Slack didn't exist yet, and Murray Turhoff didn't invent Slack, but he managed to see the future and is largely credited with pioneering the chat and collaboration space. It wasn't until the 1990s that commercial products started to emerge. We saw the likes of AOL Instant Messenger in 1997, Yahoo Pager in 1998, and Microsoft's MSN Messenger in 1999. It wasn't until instant messaging became ingrained in our everyday actions, like checking social media, email, and using mobile devices, that these chat platforms truly gained traction. It's important to note, though, that while instant messaging became an everyday application in the 2000s and then the early 2010s, no company had quite cracked the code or even realized how to use it within the business world effectively. All of that was about to change in 2014. Stuart Butterfield was working on a game called Glitch with his team at TinySpec. They used an internal communication tool to communicate across offices.
The intention is that the experience is very social.
Initially, Butterfield had no intention of commercializing the new platform. But upon realizing that he had something more than just an internal communications tool on his hands, Glitch was ditched. In order to make the tool more market-worthy through refinement, Butterfield and his team cajoled their friends to try out the product. Before long, much bigger teams were demoing TinySpec's newest invention willingly. While the tool itself was first made available to the public in February of 2013, it wasn't until August of that year that it gained another name: Slack. Within a day of its launch, the new communication tool had racked up over 8,000 signups. By April of 2014, Slack had more than 15,000 paid users and 60,000 daily active users. 1 year later, Slack was worth nearly $3 billion and boasted more than 750,000 active users. What started as an internal communications tool was swiftly becoming a promising, fast-growing entity. By 2016, Slack was reportedly being used by 77% of Fortune 100 companies. The period between 2016 and 2020 was a defining moment in the history of Slack. Slack added more features, including threaded messaging and Slack Connect. The company also launched 50+ integrations as part of its ever-growing developers-inspired app directory. In June of 2019, Slack finally went public. With its DPO, a non-conventional IPO, the Butterfield-led company was now valued at $19 billion. Given that Slack virtually had no competition early on in the collaboration tools market, big league legacy companies saw the opportunity to take advantage of Slack's success. These companies had prior experience running IM programs in the 1990s and 2000s, so they were able to enter the market relatively quickly. Facebook, now Meta, launched Workplace in October of 2016. Microsoft launched Teams in March of 2017, and finally came Google with Workspace in October of 2020. Out of all three, it's Microsoft Teams that has truly been able to give Slack a run for its money, but we'll talk about them in a bit. In 2020, Salesforce announced plans to acquire Slack for a cool $27.7 billion. For Slack, the merger was incredibly beneficial in that it afforded the company more resources for competing with the other tech giants. A huge part of Slack's consistent success over the years can be attributed to its adoption of the freemium model. Slack took the freemium model to an extreme by packing the no-cost version with essential features for teams. The only real differences between the paid and free version are the number of messages that can be searched or indexed and how many integrations teams can connect to. By making a huge chunk of Slack's functionality available for free users, the company was able to appeal to small and mid-sized teams interested in buying the product early on. Integrations also make Slack an effective collaboration tool because they allow it to bring work into a centralized location. As of 2019, Slack allowed paying users to connect to over 1,500 apps in its directory, as well as hundreds of thousands of custom applications and integrations. Customers with more integrations within their product appear to be willing to pay between 10 and 30% more than those without integrations, as we found in a ProfitWell study. Another reason for success is Slack's magic number. Slack knows that users who send 2,000 messages are much more likely to stick around and end up paying for the product, helping to identify targets for expansion. The free tier allows for a 90-day period before messages are deleted. I know that this might seem like a lot, but as companies grow, more and more messages are being sent. Top that off with a 10-app integration limit. As companies need more integrations and need to send more messages, upgrading to the paid plan makes a lot of sense. When you grow, Slack grows. And Slack needs this growth, especially with the opposition they are up against. For one, both Google and Microsoft have tools that are already widely used by SaaS operators. Further, Google, Microsoft, and Meta boast full-fledged video conferencing features, an area which Slack has yet to perfect. Slack was growing at a ridiculous pace and boasted over 10 million active users by the end of 2019. In the 2 weeks following the WHO's announcement of an international pandemic, Slack's customer base grew by a whopping 25%, with tweets from CEO Stuart Butterfield confirming that the platform had added another 2 million users. Facebook Workplace saw its user base improve by 2 million from May of 2020 to May of 2021. Microsoft Teams, on the other hand, claimed 70 million additional subscribers from April of 2020 to April of 2021. So that's it, right? Game, set, match, Microsoft takes the crown? Well, not exactly. Microsoft includes Teams with Office 365, so users of Office 365 may not even be using Microsoft Teams, and instead supplementing it with Slack. Stuart Butterfield has said that many Slack customers use the 365 suite. However, it's gotten heated enough that Slack has a pending antitrust complaint against Microsoft in the EU. Slack argues that Microsoft is using Office's market superiority to force millions of people to utilize Teams through its bundle. Whether or not that complaint will succeed in court remains to be seen, but what is clear is that Microsoft, as well as Meta, pose a serious threat to Slack's success. If their products are just good enough, it's easy for them to convert a user base that is already hooked up to their ecosystem. For folks running a SaaS business, internal communication tools like Slack are more or less a no-brainer. We've come a long way since Murray Turof's initial try. Aside from promoting seamless communication between employees while in and out of the office, these tools help keep people engaged, motivated, and properly aligned with the company culture and goals. But Slack needs to be on their toes and fend off competition if it dreams of retaining its position as a leader of the workplace collaboration market. They need to maintain focus on a customer-centric app functionalities. Providing a strong video conferencing feature would be a huge plus for starters. Ultimately, the winner of the collaboration war is going to be the solution that makes it easiest for people to work together. With Google, Meta, Microsoft, and Slack all putting their best foot forward, it'll be interesting to see how this war plays out in the days to come. Which one do you think will come out on top? Will Slack maintain its place as a position leader? Let me know in the comments down below. From Paddle, I'm Ben Hillman, and I'll see you next time.